Hello and welcome back to Bedtime Stories with Vice Vice Baby. Tonight, I'll read you a book called Betrothed by Anton Chekhov. Chapter 1. It was 10 o'clock in the evening, and the full moon was shining over the garden. In the Schumann's house, an evening service celebrated at the request of the grandmother Marfa Mihailovna was just over, and now Nadia, she had gone into the garden for a minute, could see the table being laid for supper in the dining room, and her grandmother bustling about in her gorgeous silk dress. Father Andrei, a chief priest of the cathedral, was taking to Nadia's mother, Nina Ivanovna, and now, in the evening light through the window, her mother, for some reason, looked very young. Andrei Andreich, Father Andrei's son, was standing by listening attentively. It was still and cool in the garden, and dark, peaceful shadows lay on the ground. There was a sound of frogs croaking far, far away beyond the towns. There was a feeling of May, sweet May. One drew deep breaths and longed to fancy that not here, but far away under the sky, above the trees, far away in the open country, in the fields and the woods, the life of spring was unfolding now, mysterious, lovely, rich, and holy beyond the understanding of weak, sinful man. And, for some reason, one wanted to cry. She, Nadia, was already 23. Ever since she was 16, she had been passionately dreaming of marriage, and at last she was engaged to Andrei Andreich, the young man who was standing on the other side of the window. She liked him. The wedding was already fixed for July 7th, and yet there was no joy in her heart. She was sleeping badly. Her spirits drooped. She could hear from the open windows of the basement, where the kitchen was, the hurrying servants, the clatter of knives, the banging of the swing door. There was a smell of roast turkey and pickled cherries, and for some reason, it seemed to her that it would be like that all her life, with no change, no end to it. Someone came out of the house and stood on the steps. It was Alexander Timofeich, or, as he was always called, Sasha, who had come from Moscow 10 days before and was staying with them. Years ago, a distant relation of the grandmother, a gentleman's widow, called Maria Petrovna, a thin, sickly little woman who had sunk into poverty, used to come to the house to ask for assistance. She had a son, Sasha. It used for some reason to be said that he had talent as an artist, and when his mother died, Nadia's grandmother had, for the salvation of her soul, sent him to the Komisarovsky school in Moscow. 2 years later, he went into the school of painting, spent nearly 15 years there, and only just managed to scrape through the leaving examination in the section of architecture. He did not set up as an architect, however, but took a job at the lithographers. He used to come almost every year, usually very ill, to stay with Nadia's grandmother to rest and recover. He was wearing now a frock coat buttoned up and shabby canvas trousers, crumpled into creases at the bottom, and his shirt had not been ironed, and he had somehow all over a look of not being fresh. He was very thin, with big eyes, long, thin fingers, and a swarthy, bearded face, and all the same, he was handsome. With the Schumanns, he was like one of the family, and in their house felt he was at home. And the room in which he lived when he was there had for years been called Sasha's room. Standing on the steps, he saw Nadia and went up to her. "It's nice here," he said. "Of course it's nice. You ought to stay here till the autumn." "Yes, I expect it will come to that. I dare say I shall stay with you till September. He laughed for no reason and sat down beside her. I'm sitting gazing at Mother, said Nadia. She looks so young from here. My mother has her weaknesses, of course, she added after a pause. But she is still an exceptional woman. Yes, she is very nice, Sasha agreed. Your mother, in her own way, of course, is a very good and sweet woman. But, how shall I say? I went early this morning into your kitchen, and there I found 4 servants sleeping on the floor. No bedsteads, and rags for bedding. Stench, bugs, beetles. It is just as it was 20 years ago. No change at all. Well, Granny, God bless her, what else can you expect of Granny? But your mother speaks French, you know, and acts in private theatricals. One would think she might understand. As Sasha talked, he used to stretch out 2 long-wasted fingers before the listener's face. It all seems somehow strange to me here, now I am out of the habit of it, he went on. There is no making it out. Nobody ever does anything. Your mother spends the whole day walking about like the Duchess. Granny does nothing either, nor you either. And your Andrei Andreevich never does anything either. Nadia had heard this the year before, and she fancied the year before that too. And she knew that Sasha could not make any other criticism, and in old days, this had amused her. But now, for some reason, she felt annoyed. That's all stale, and I have been sick of it for ages, she said and got up. You should think of something a little newer. He laughed and got up too, and they went together towards the house. She, tall, handsome, and well-made, beside him looked very healthy and smartly dressed. She was conscious of this and felt sorry for him, and for some reason awkward. And you say a great deal you should not, she said. You've just been talking about my Andre, but you see you don't know him. My Andre. Bother him, your Andre. I'm sorry for your youth. They were already sitting down to supper as the young people went into the dining room. The grandmother, or Granny, as she was called in the household, a very stout, plain old lady with bushy eyebrows and a little mustache, was talking loudly, and from her voice and manner of speaking it could be seen that she was the person of most importance in the house. She owned rows of shops in the market, and the old-fashioned house with columns and the garden. Yet, she prayed every morning that God might save her from ruin and shed tears as she did so. Her daughter-in-law, Nadia's mother, Nina Ivanova, a fair-haired woman, tightly laced in, with pince-nez and diamonds on her finger. Father Andre, a lean, toothless old man whose face always looked as though he were just going to say something amusing. And his son, Andrei Andreevich, a stout and handsome young man with curly hair looking like an artist or an actor, were all talking of hypnotism. You will get well in a week here, said Granny, addressing Sasha. Only you must eat more. What do you look like? She sighed. You are dreadful. You are a regular, prodigal son. That is what you are. After wasting his father's substance in righteous living, said Father Andre slowly, with laughing eyes, he fed with senseless beasts. I like my dad, said Andrei Andreevich, touching his father on the shoulder. He's a splendid old fellow, a dear old fellow. Everyone was silent for a space. Sasha suddenly burst out laughing and put his dinner napkin to his mouth. So, you believe in hypnotism? Said Father Andre to Nina Ivanova. I cannot, of course, assert that I believe, answered Nina Ivanovna, assuming a very serious, even severe expression. But I must own that there is much that is mysterious and incomprehensible in nature. I quite agree with you, though I must add that religion distinctly curtails for us the domain of the mysterious. A big and very fat turkey was served. Father Andre and Nina Ivanovna went on with their conversation. Nina Ivanovna's diamonds glittered on her fingers, then tears began to glitter in her eyes. She grew excited. Though I cannot venture to argue with you, she said. You must admit there are so many insoluble riddles in life. No one, I assure you. After supper, Andrei Andreevich played the fiddle and Nina Ivanovna accompanied him on the piano. 10 years before, he had taken his degree at the university in the Faculty of Arts, but had never held any post, had no definite work, and only from time to time took part in concerts for charitable objects. And in the town, he was regarded as the musician. Andrei Andreevich played. They all listened in silence. The samovar was boiling quietly on the table, and no one but Sasha was drinking tea. Then, when it struck 12, a violin string suddenly broke. Everyone laughed, bustled about, and began saying goodbye. After seeing her fiancé out, Nadia went upstairs where she and her mother had their rooms. The lowly story was occupied by the grandmother. They began putting the lights out below the dining room, while Sasha still sat on drinking tea. He always spent a long time over tea in the Moscow style, drinking as much as 7 glasses at a time. For a long time after Nadia had undressed and gone to bed, she could hear the servants clearing away downstairs and Granny talking angrily. At last, everything was hushed, and nothing could be heard but Sasha from time to time coughing on a bass note in his room below. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Bedtime Stories with Vice Baby. I hope you all have a good night and sweet dreams.